guys for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe and like this channel. I appreciate all the support and the love. Today, first I want to say rest in peace, rest in power to our sister, Breonna Taylor. Unless you've been living under a rock or you're just oblivious to racism or whatever, you've heard, you're pretty familiar with what happened to Breonna Taylor. And so really what I wanted to talk about today, I mean, as you see, I have on the I Can't Breathe with George Floyd, and this is not, to try to be cool or look at me, I got, down with the movement. There's nothing cool about this. I want to make folks uncomfortable. I want to make white folks in particular uncomfortable with this and not be comfortable, because one of the reasons that blacks have been in this position for so long is because there are so many people who are come from privilege and power who just don't give a crap, who just don't care. And so I don't think this shirt or things like that or hashtags are going to make people care, but it can raise awareness. And it's like, if we're in the store and you see this and it makes you uncomfortable, good. It should make you uncomfortable. But are you going to be uncomfortable and continue racist ways? Or are you going to be uncomfortable and use your privilege to stand for something? And if you're black, because there's black people that don't care about racism and stuff like that, they're just trying to, as long as they're okay, then they're good. If their family's not killed by the police, then they're okay. So Breonna Taylor, we all know she was murdered. She was killed in her home. Police showed up at her door and quote unquote did not knock, and they busted in her house and she ended up being killed. She died. And I know a lot of people will say, like, for example, some people say, well, the police did knock, or the police lied and said they knocked. Whether they knocked or they didn't knock is irrelevant to me. And I'll get to that in a second, but that's not important to me. The fact that she lost her life, she was innocent, is just very sad. It's very, very sad. And what's so crazy about it, and this is why I named this the creativity of crime, is because the state for years, even when you look at slavery and you look at when slavery ended and they said, well, slavery is abolished except for the event of a crime. And so they make up crime or they over punish crime. Well, let's say you steal an apple and then they give you 10 years in prison for an apple when you just could have paid for it or whatever. You were just hungry trying to survive. After they've been stealing from you for years, you're just trying to survive, and now you go to prison, right? They create crime. And so the Breonna Taylor situation is a perfect example of the creativity of the state, the creativity of crime. And so what they've done is, we're so focused on the fact that, okay, there's a law passed, quote unquote, and I believe it's where it can't be no knock. They have to knock and let you know that you're aware, right? Well, there's a problem with that for a number of reasons. Number one, yes, if you're police coming to my door, would I rather you knock and identify yourself instead of just busting in my house, so at least I can quote unquote know? Yes, absolutely. That's better than not knocking. But here's the problem. Let's just take me, for example, right? If I'm asleep, especially if I'm in my bedroom. So if you're knocking on the door, I'm probably not going to hear it the first time and just get up. And even if I do hear it, I'm going to be like, what the heck? My first thing I'm gonna think is maybe it's somebody at the wrong door or whatever like that. I'm probably still gonna be half asleep. I'm not gonna be too alert. But even when I get up, and let's say I do hear you're the police, depending on how long I'm asleep, because when you wake me up, I don't know if you've been knocking for 5 minutes or 5 seconds. I don't know if that's the first knock because I was asleep. So you knock enough times and wake me up, and then I come out into the hallway or whatever like that, and you're already in my door and you think I have a weapon and you kill me, or my kid is up and you kill them, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a real problem. Obviously, if you kill me, there's nothing I can do. But if you do something like you did to Breonna Taylor, you execute somebody's loved one, that's a problem. And that's not something that I would just be passive about. That would turn me into a different type of person. And I don't even want to think about that or even go into depth of what I mean about that. But and a lot of you know what I'm talking about. So you knocking doesn't really change much. They not only knocked down her door and killed this woman, but they were at the wrong house. But let's just say hypothetically, let's say they were at the right house. Let's say they knocked and they were at the right house, et cetera, et cetera. We still don't know how asleep, her boyfriend was and things like that. If he really knew police were there and then he just wanted to shoot, or if he really felt in fear of his life. And of course, when police say they're in fear of their life, they get the benefit of the doubt. But when, citizens, people that are not in law enforcement say that there was a fear for their life, we don't get that benefit of doubt, especially if you're a black man or woman. So let's say that they were at the right house, they knocked, they identified themselves. Well, here's another problem. The war on drugs. The war on drugs was implemented, and you can look this up yourself. The war on drugs was mainly implemented to oppress, through systemic racism, oppress black people. Absolutely. And I could do multiple episodes. I could write a book on it, and I'm not even an expert. There's a lot I need to learn, but I could write a book just off what I know. So I'm not making this up. So the war on drugs is an unjust, ungodly war. It's a war that never ends. The only winners are the government, who continues to take in revenue, things like that. The war on drugs victimizes people every day. If you are a grown adult and you want to sell cocaine to another grown adult, is that wise? Absolutely not. Should you have the quote unquote right? Should we encourage that? No. Should we encourage people poisoning our communities, especially black communities? Absolutely not. Should they be locked up in jail for serving to consenting adults? Absolutely not. And so the war on drugs is a victimless crime, quote unquote. A true crime is actually something where there's an injured party. Let's say you hit somebody's property. That's a quote unquote crime because now you owe restitution because you damaged property. If you kill somebody, even if it's by accident or on purpose, that is a crime. If you violate a contract, something like that, that can be looked at as a crime. There's an injured party. There may be some type of restitution or things need to be made right. If you steal from somebody, you take something that does not belong to you, that is a crime. If you rape a woman or rape a man or whatever, or if you're a pedophile, these are actual true crimes. But somebody being in their house having cocaine, or somebody getting high off of cannabis, which thankfully they make that more available and they're starting to drop some of the laws on that. But the same people that benefited from locking blacks up and people period are now benefiting off the business of cannabis and all that type of stuff. So that's just totally wrong. But that's another episode. The fact that the war on drugs is legal, it just shows what type of country we live in. It shows the priority of our country. And really, crime is a business. So it's big business. So they have to create crime. So it's not enough to where we just go out and catch the rapists, the murderers, the pedophiles, the thieves, et cetera, et cetera. We've got to create crime. So if we catch you with this vitamin that's not backed by whatever, or if we say it's illegal, or if you can't have it past 5 o'clock, or whatever foolish law that they want to make up, that's okay for them because they're going to lock people up, turn you into slaves. They're going to make revenue, tax the people, and they're going to get cheap slave labor. This country was built off the foundation of slavery, and so to continue to grow in the way it has, even though we're in trillions of dollars of debt, it has to continue to keep the slaves. And one way it keeps the slaves is through the prison system. And so you have a cop who is going to go and even if you have a decent cop, let's say you have a cop that's like, look, I don't look at black people as inferior. I just want to do my job. I want to keep the street safe. So in his mind, he's convinced that one of the ways to keep the street safe is to get drugs off the street. So instead of encouraging somebody to go to rehab, etc., consenting adults serving to other consenting adults, they're willing to break into your house, even if it's the wrong house, with guns, with a deadly instrument, a deadly weapon, which means they have an intent to kill. That's why it's there. It's there to not just to protect themselves, but they're on the offensive. That's why we see a lot of these police that are killing. It's not because their life was really in danger. Now, they might have felt it, but the law backs them up in such a way where they can think for a split second, hey, I'll kill you. Now imagine for a second if the police were in that role that we are in. Imagine if you're in Chipotle and a cop walks in with a gun, and because you're a lawful carrying citizen or you're a registered gun owner or whatever, everybody pulls out their gun or somebody shoots the cop because they're wondering what they're doing there with a gun on their hip, or whatever like that. They see a cop, or you get pulled over and you shoot the cop because he rolls over, he's and you kill him. That wouldn't fly with us. We'd be in jail so fast or dead. But with them, they get to do that. Any type of fear, whatever, it's warranted for them. And so the Breonna Taylor situation is a very interesting situation. And this has happened so many times. There's been, everybody's talking about Breonna Taylor, but I believe there was a 9-year-old black girl who was murdered, I think a few years back in her home. I think it was a similar thing, wrong house. I don't think it made national news, or maybe it did, I'm not sure, but I don't think it did. She was murdered in her house, similar to Breonna Taylor. And the 9-year-old is gone. Why? Because you wanted to they weren't looking for a rapist. They weren't looking for a murderer. They wanted to find somebody who had quote unquote drugs, right? So they're willing to come to your house, not only, and listen to how stupid and foolish this is. Not only are they willing to kill you over drugs, break into your house, they're willing to kill your innocent loved ones over drugs. They're willing to die themselves. So you got cops willing to break in. You got families who are encouraging their cops, as looking at them as heroes. Like, oh, my husband's a hero, my wife's a hero. When you just broke into somebody's house and tried to kill them, and then if they kill you, you're looked at as the cop, as the victim. And so now people are mourning like, oh, he was such a hero. You were no damn hero. That is a damn lie. You are not a hero. And I know this is not popular to say, but it's the truth. The drug war has to end. The drug war is a demonic, it's an ungodly, it is an unbiblical, quote unquote, law. It's not even a true law. And again, there's no injured party. It's not a true crime. It's creativity of crime. They are creating crime. They are making this up out of thin air, and then they put it into quote unquote legislature and all that stuff. So Breonna Taylor should have never died. So when people want to make the argument about, oh, the boyfriend shot first, and if he wouldn't have shot first, you hear celebrities and people on TV and fools on the internet saying, oh, if he wouldn't have shot first, she would have been alive. If he wouldn't have shot first, he may have been dead. We don't know. We weren't there. But what we do know, anybody that understands how law works and about any type of true morality, that this is an unjust this is an unjust law. It's an unjust statute or code. It's wrong. It's morally wrong. And so you guys can debate all day. I'm not going to debate with you whether the cops knocked or whether they should knock or they should not. So the Breonna Taylor law, which is so ironic that, you want to name something after her, but you have not arrested her killer. That right there is crazy. Supposedly they didn't give her medical attention, things like that, and just left her. So again, and I think sometimes that we see and hear about death so much that we really just kind of were numb to it. Breonna Taylor is dead. She's gone. She's not in timeout. She's not even in jail somewhere where she'll get out in a couple of years and wrongfully framed and stuff, which is bad enough. The prison system, I mean, I could go into it. I'll do another topic at a later date about the prison system and why it itself is immoral and things like that. But the fact that this woman is gone, she's gone. And we kind of treat that so lightly. We just move on with our lives. And we think that it's a good thing that, oh, they're going to knock now. Well, supposedly they were supposed to knock before. But even if they weren't, regardless, the fact that you're breaking into somebody's house, again, you're not looking for a rapist. You're not trying to truly keep the streets safe. So a lot of people don't understand how cops actually breed violence. They breed crime because the way the police system works. And even like you got drug dealers who have the turf. If they would just legalize drugs, you would erase the middleman. And so anybody could get whatever. It would be harder to have those type of street wars and things like that. But as long as you have police who are willing to blindly enforce these laws for the state, you're going to continue to see this type of stuff. And if you look at a lot of the blacks that have been murdered, especially the ones that have been caught on camera, how many times do you actually see it where a true crime was committed? You know, you see, oh, this tail light, you see the Philando Castile stuff. How many times was it where the person was actually truly a danger and needed to be shot at or killed? You rarely see it. You see some of the most foolish stuff. You see, you know, Tamir Rice, again, there was no victims. He's playing with a toy. You know, you see John Crawford in Walmart, I believe. I mean, you see so many of this stuff. You see Eric Garner over the loose cigarettes. Really? And so what these unjust laws do is, the creativity of crime, what it allows police to do is it allows them to have an altercation with you for any reason. So if they want to say tomorrow that wearing a Batman hat is illegal, right? Let's say they did something stupid like that. And you could say, oh, well, that's just ridiculous. They would never, if you actually looked up some of these laws, you would see how ridiculous they are. They say the average American commits like 4 to 6 felonies a day unknowingly. There's just way too many statutes and codes and laws and all that type of stuff. It's just outrageous. And most of them are victimless crimes. There's no true victim. So when you look at the system and you see it for what it is, and you see that police are allowed to basically harass you for any reason. Oh, okay, your 10 is a little off. Who cares? Who am I bothering? Oh, well, it's for my safety. What about my safety? Why you need to be looking in my car? If I'm not bothering nobody, why are you worried about safety? Now, if you wanted to say, hey, if you pulled me over and said, you know, and there was a valid reason, and you want to say, you know, you have the loudspeaker or whatever and say, hey, I need you to roll your window down so I can see you for my safety. I kind of get that. I'm not even going to argue that, even though I could to a certain extent. I don't even need to argue that. I won't even try to argue that. Okay. But to say my 10 is a certain shade, or that my, you know, rim is this, and or just stupid stuff that they be making up. So now it can go from that to me losing my life because either you're in fear or you just don't like the fact that I am standing up for my rights. A lot of cops, they don't like uppity, quote unquote, blacks. They don't like intelligent blacks. You don't like the fact, sir, that I've studied the Constitution more than you have, or you've probably never have. You don't like it, sir, that I understand that, you know, you as a cop being hired instead of elected like true law officials are supposed to be, like the sheriff, like a true sheriff, according to the Constitution and things like that. You don't like that if I bring that up, or if I know that, or if you're trying to make me do something that I know is unlawful, or if I ask you to quote the law that you're telling, that you're enforcing, you can't do it. And so those people are easier targets to you know, to enrage the officer or whatever like that, you know, if I'm mouthing off or whatever. And so anyway, I don't want to keep you guys too long in this episode, but I really wanted to get this off my chest. And so again, we need to understand that these laws are unjust, and they allow police to get away with easier for them to get away with killing us. Because now if you stop me for, you know, if you stop me for just whatever, or, you know, any altercation, if you can stop me because my shirt is green, or if you can stop me because you think I might have smoked a joint today. I'm a grown man. I'm a grown ass man. If I want to smoke a joint, if I want to get high on crack, even though it's not wise to do that, if I want to, you know, if I'm popping Molly, that's my right. Now, if me popping Molly leads to me violating my neighbor's rights, or leads to me hurting a kid, hurting my family, stealing from somebody, if it influences me to steal or to fight, then I can suffer those consequences, because that is leading me to a crime. So it's not necessarily the Molly that I need to be punished for. It's the fact that while on Molly, I committed a crime. So whatever crime I committed, that needs to be dealt with accordingly. So that's awesome. But the fact that Breonna Taylor and so many other blacks have been murdered, you know, for simply being black, because of the creativity of crime, because cops can bother you for any reason. They're proactive, they're policing. They're not reactive like the ambulance or the fire department. The fire department doesn't come and say, hey man, you know, this guy, he's kind of a dummy. He'll probably start a fire. Let's just hang around and harass him ahead of time, or let's do whatever. No. And so instead of cops really being true servants, public servants like they're supposed to be, or like they teach us or tell us when we're kids, oh, they're public servants. No, they're not. That's a bunch of crap. They serve the state. That's who they serve. They are slaves themselves to the state. They do whatever their boss tells them to do. That's why they do it. And that's why there's no quote unquote really good cops. People want to say, oh, well, there's only some bad ones. No, they're all bad. And if the couple that you might name that are actually really good officers, they're the ones either getting fired, locked up, or they're doing justice secretly. Just like in the slave days, you might have had some people who came across like they were racist, but they were really using it to free black people and to protect black people. You had a few of those. So I'm pretty sure I've actually seen one to some degree in my life, but I'm pretty sure there are other cops out there that are undercover doing things. They're not arresting people for drugs. They will not break into somebody's house and risk their life or that person's life or their family's life over some drugs or things like that. They will not ruin somebody's family and take their father so he can be locked up because they can say, well, we found cocaine on him, so let's take him from his family in the name of quote unquote law and order, right? And so we need to understand that injustice is never okay. Breonna Taylor should still be alive. And if she would have died from whatever else, it should have been something else, not from police, not from unjust laws. And so in closing, it doesn't matter if they knock or they don't knock, both are wrong. They have no business in your home. They have no business in my home, especially if a true crime has not been committed. If somebody rapes somebody and you got to break through that door to get that rapist, it's kind of hard to argue. But you looking because somebody might be making money off selling drugs, who gives a crap? Find them, lock them up. Like I was watching one movie, I forgot what it was. I think it was it Heat? It was with Al Pacino and I think Robert De Niro. And they were shooting, the bad guys had the gun and they were running out with hostages. So the cops just started shooting in the open. I'm like, you're a freaking moron. Why would you shoot why would you risk? Why not just follow them? They rob the bank, so they have money. That money can be replaced. It's insured. That money can be replaced. You're willing to shoot in public in broad day. This is the stupid crap that I'm talking about. I'm not saying all cops do that, but there's a lot of dumb decisions they make. A lot of them have low IQ, and a lot of them are just straight up cowards. So that makes a bad combination when you have low IQ and a coward, or you have somebody who does know it's wrong and they just don't give a crap. They just have low morality. They have low standards. They're there for a paycheck. You know, they always want to talk about, well, I'm just trying to get home to my family. Well, duh, I'm trying to get home to my family too. So stop bothering me over drugs. Stop bothering me thinking I got, you're going to catch something on me or plant something on me. Like, it's foolishness, man. And again, this woman is dead because of that. So I want to encourage everybody, for once in your life, a lot of people, some people have read it, some people haven't. Read the Constitution, read up historically on police and how it was birthed during slavery and why, the slave catchers and things like that. And, we need to, at all possible, we need to defund the police. We need to, there's no police reform. You can't reform something that is unjust from the core. It needs to be totally destroyed and we come up with something new, and I don't have all the answers, but one answer I do have is that police, they are not the answer. And the current system that we are under is a demonic, unjust system. So they create crime. That's what they do. And it makes it easier to make money for the state. And it's easier for somebody like you and me, especially this hue, the brown and black hue. It is easier for us to be killed over something that really wasn't that serious, because you may pull me over for doing 50 in a 42. And instead of just giving me a ticket, you get nervous. All I'm trying to do is go home and you kill me or something like that. So we don't need that to happen. Unfortunately, it's probably not going to stop no time soon, but we need to stop settling for these little breadcrumbs that they give us, because they keep reinventing crime and finding new ways to kill us and punish us. And we need to stand for justice and fight for those who are being oppressed, whether they are in the prison system. And so Breonna Taylor, her boyfriend, they were innocent regardless if they had a 300,000 tons of drugs or if they had no drugs. Regardless if that was the right house or not, regardless if the police knocked or not, they were innocent and she was murdered, she was killed. And here we are today. God bless. So as I do on every episode that I have, I try to support Black businesses. I want to plug anytime I can somebody that's doing something, whether it's a store here locally where I live in Florida, or if it's somebody doing something online, or if it's somebody doing music, somebody doing art, whatever it is, right? And so I have a associate of mine, homegirl of mine, Deshawn. You can actually see the link below. She We call her Queen Vegan. She's a vegan. She has a channel that deals with veganism. She's a doula, so it deals with home birth. It deals with a lot of good stuff. So y'all make sure y'all check her out. Subscribe to her channel. She's an awesome Black woman. Make sure if you need sea moss or you want to order something, if you're in the Texas, I believe she's in the Houston area, make sure y'all check her out. Order some stuff from her, but she's really dope. She's really knowledgeable in a lot of the things concerning veganism and home birth and just Black women in general when it comes to health. So I want to encourage y'all to support her. Like I said, the link will be in the description below. And yeah, man, y'all have a blessed day. Peace.